Watch out, he's getting ready to bang the gavel.
All right, good evening, everybody. We're a few minutes after 5:30. Apologize for the delay, but we will move right into our initial meeting. Tonight is our pre-agenda meeting for the month of March for the town of Spencer, and we do have all of our board members here. We will begin with an invocation. I was told that Alderwoman Sledge would be giving the invocation, but I think I'm going to do everybody a favor if she will do the invocation on Tuesday. Thank you. I'll give the invocation this evening. Let us pray. Father, we are grateful for the beauty of this season. We thank you for the glorious days we've had here recently. We thank you for the folks that are here tonight, interested, concerned, and ready to jump into action with our town. We thank you for our staff that are here and that support our residents and businesses on a daily basis. And we thank you for the board members that sit around me, for their leadership, their wisdom, and their guidance. Be with us as we begin planning for the upcoming year and for the future of Spencer, not only next year, but in the years to come. We ask for your guidance, your wisdom, and your direction. Amen. Mm-hmm. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, we have an exciting evening this evening. The first order of business is to go through our agenda for next Tuesday's regular meeting of the board. And then, perhaps more importantly, we will be having a community feedback session this evening that'll be facilitated by folks from Fountain Works, and that will ultimately help us as we move into our strategic planning session tomorrow, which will be all day tomorrow for our board as we start talking about the upcoming year and then the years to come. So we appreciate everybody that's here tonight and look forward to chatting with you. So, board, you have before you your proposed agenda for Tuesday evening. I will be out of town on Tuesday due to work conflict, so Mayor Pro Tem is prepared to lead the meeting for us. And so she says she is. And so we do have our voluntold person. Alderwoman Sledge will be giving our invocation. Mayor Pro Tem will lead the Pledge of Allegiance and call the meeting to order. We do have minutes from the February 9th pre-agenda meeting and the February 14th regular meeting agenda. Thank you to Alderwoman Sledge, who had reviewed those for us, and to our town clerk for preparing those. And we typically move those to the consent agenda unless there's any reason not to. Ms. Sledge, is there any reason not to put those on the consent agenda?
I think they go to consent.
Okay, is the board good with that? All right, we'll move those to the consent agenda. We'll have an opportunity to make any additions or deletions and adopt the agenda at that point. Does anybody know of any reason to add or delete any items at this point in time for next week's agenda? All right, hearing none, we will then move to recognitions, and I know there are a few at least. Mayor Pro Tem, I know you have one.
Yeah, I want to do something in memory or in honor of Coach Steele, but I don't know if we want to try to do it at this meeting or wait until the April meeting. I'm not sure exactly.
Right. What is the pleasure of the board? The April meeting would allow us to do a little more time and get it a little more detailed.
Let's do the April.
Okay.
Yeah, and we can think about it too.
Okay.
Because he definitely left a mark on this end of the county. There hasn't been anybody else like it. Probably never will be either.
Any other recognitions? All right. Mr. Franzese, any recognitions on behalf of staff?
Not this time.
Okay. So as of right now, we do not have any. If you do have recognitions between now and then, please let the town clerk know as well as Mayor Pro Tem. We will then have public comment, approval of the consent agenda, and then we will have several public hearings. On the consent agenda, again tonight, if there's any additional things on our agenda that we want to move to consent, please indicate as such as we go through this. The public hearings that we have one for an annexation request on a parcel at Willow Creek Drive. And that was an update that we had from our last meeting. We set the public hearing date for that. And then also the rezoning, the proposed rezoning of that from C85 to industrial. Again, we heard about that at the last meeting and set that public hearing date, so that public hearing will be held on Tuesday. We will receive an update from Jim Beamer, the Director of Salisbury Rowan Utilities. Anything on that additional at this point?
No, sir.
Okay. And then we will have our upcoming award contract for our fiscal year 23 audit. Anything you want to mention on that tonight?
We did do a RFP process for the upcoming audit year. This was a little sooner than perhaps it would have been time to do an RFP. However, some of the federal dollars coming our way are prompting us to do that, partially because of the need to potentially have what's known as a single audit involving the federal dollars coming through our accounts. And so we received one response and are recommending a contract with RH CPAs, who has been doing the audit work for us for the last couple of years.
Yes.
I'd just like to ask, will this audit cover both us for the year as well as for the ARP money, or will there be a separate audit?
No, that would cover for all of our funds, and I don't know if Mr. Softly would like to add anything in particular on how that factors in with the federal dollars.
Yeah, the RFP was issued in response to the fact that we did receive funds this year. And potentially we are subject to a single audit if we spend $750,000 of federal funds in a single year. I don't anticipate we will this year, but the requirements was that we did need to issue an RFP to allow for that. Quite frankly, as we look into next year with starting to spend the CDBG funds, there is a possibility that we would exceed $750,000 in a year. And at that point, those requirements kick in. And this RFP that was issued the firm is qualified to be able to do that type audit, and they have an allowance in there if we have to do it. For this year, that is not in there because we're not going to spend $750,000 in federal funds this year.
Okay.
So,
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, if it's the pleasure of the board, if they're the only responsible bidder, and they've done a pretty good job this past year, when we put this on consent, I don't see a reason to discuss it. That's my personal view.
It's the pleasure of the board. All right, there seems to be agreement that that will be a consent agenda item. All right, we have 3 budget ordinances to consider as well. 23-04, that's an amendment for a $1,000 donation for the Spencil Mural Walk.
Would you like to hear a little about that this evening?
Sure.
Okay, so as you know, we have been, through the efforts of our lead from North Carolina fellow, Sky Allen, pursuing and receiving grant funding for the public art that we're trying to add to our town. And you may have noticed the Salisbury Post article today on that topic, but this is to amend our budget recognizing the most recent funds to come our way for that project. And so a fairly straightforward budget amendment. I don't know if you'd like to hear anything more from Sky on this particular item.
I would make a recommendation that we adopt the remove the budget ordinance to the consent agenda, but I would like to make sure that we make note of it, and perhaps she can give an update if she's here Tuesday to give an update during the meeting on the mural project, and we can acknowledge that we have received a donation for it.
And Sky is here.
She is here tonight.
Yeah, here in the room. Yeah. So.
Very good. Is that okay with the board?
Mhm.
Okay. The other item then is an amendment 23-05 for the annual budget for overtime in the fire department.
Yes, once again, this is a budget amendment that is dealing with some overtime due to a vacancy we had on one of our full-time positions, as well as coverage for departmental training and special events. At the time of preparing our budget this year, we were on a basis with the fire department of using a comp time process, but when you have vacancies, that doesn't work too well, and we needed to be able to use overtime, paid overtime versus comp time due to the vacancy on staff. And so this is a budget amendment in the neighborhood of about $15,000, and then for overtime, and then a little more to cover the associated benefits. And this is where the revenue to offset that is coming from stronger than anticipated sales tax revenue.
All right, any questions from the board?
We're still within the budget as far as that goes with this amendment, is that right?
Yes, so what this will do is, this is an amount that will cover what we foresee needing for the rest of the year.
Okay.
And yes, but again, it's going to increase the budget, but through increased revenues.
Okay.
Yeah, my understanding is our sales tax is coming in much stronger than originally budgeted.
Yes.
Good. Good. So those sales tax figures are at 48 and 51%. But that's because we still have a lag in receiving them from month to month. Is that correct?
I think they run about 3 months, 2 to 3 months behind, 2 months behind.
Okay.
Yep.
Any reason not to move that to the consent agenda? All right, so we'll move that as a consent agenda item. Next budget amendment is 23-07, and it's for 3 different items for the Public Works Department.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. This is a budget amendment that covers 3 different topics within Public Works. One is for the additional planting work that you heard about as part of our CCAP project to create the buffer along that project and between that and the neighboring houses in the area there along 17th Street. Another is for needed repairs to our garbage truck, and we've had a few different issues with the garbage truck this fiscal year that have needed repairs that are approaching about $30,000, unfortunately. But that's our current situation. We have one garbage truck. Our old truck is not in operation anymore, and we have the new truck on order. So making these repairs will get our truck back in service and also give us, once our new truck comes, a good backup truck, which we're looking forward to. We're looking at some process changes to make sure that our truck stays in good working order. And then the third is related to our Powell bill and the resurfacing. We had originally planned for a resurfacing program this year in the neighborhood of about $120,000, and we're recommending increasing that to allow us to do more resurfacing. We're currently working to try to get an engineer lined up to help us kick off that project and have it out to bid within the next month or so. And so we think of, given the Powell bill reserve fund we have, dedicating a little bit more into this year's resurfacing program, combined with some investment earnings that have come in more favorably than we planned, are allowing us to make this recommendation to you. And if you have any questions about that, I'd be happy to answer them.
Questions from the board? Ms. Sledge.
How long will it be before this is just immaterial, but how long will it be before our garbage truck is back in service?
The truck, I don't know if Joel has had a different update since earlier today, but the plan is that it should be finished tomorrow with repairs and back in. So it sounds like the repairs. Okay. So we were hoping it was going to be back in service next week.
Shaking of the head.
We were hoping it was going to be back in service next week, but it sounds like we're looking at not Monday.
And a second question, how are we paying the city of Concord for the use of their service? And is that, are we using their driver or are we using our personnel?
Yes, so they are providing a driver with the truck. They are billing us a hourly rate of $65 an hour, and that covers the staff as well as the equipment, fuel, etc. And so, you know, that's the rate, $65 an hour. And once this is all said and done, we'll get an invoice from the city and pay the invoice. You know, when we're not running our truck, we're not burning fuel and etc. And so we don't anticipate a significant issue to deal with in terms of paying their fee.
We've been fortunate.
Grateful for their service.
Yeah, we've been fortunate that one, that they have staff available to help us, and two, that they actually have trucks. My understanding is there are multiple other agencies who have trucks out of service that are in a similar boat as us, and also some private companies that are in a similar boat as well. You just can't get the vehicles right now, and so we're fortunate we've got one on order.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions from the board on this budget amendment? Is this an item that you want to move the consent agenda as well?
I think we should keep it.
Okay.
I agree. I think the public needs to hear particularly about the resurfacing and
And the
and what
garbage.
we're doing as far as we're doing
Yeah,
with garbage.
I think a lot of people need to hear about the garbage
All right.
and what it costs, the expense of it.
So that one then will remain on the regular agenda. Okay. Next items are approval of resolution 23-06, and that would be to sign a letter of intent to meet the conditions for the USDA Rural Development Division, and that is specifically in reference to the fire truck that is on order and the garbage truck that is also on order. Mr. Franzese?
Thank you again, Mayor. So as you're familiar with, we have ordered those trucks, and we've started the process of identifying our financing method for those. We are eligible for 20-year financing on the fire truck and 10-year financing on the garbage truck, and the USDA has approved those applications and have gotten to the point where they present us with the letter of conditions that is in your packet, and so our next step at this is to authorize the intent to meet those, and then the next step after that would be tied to the delivery of the vehicles and closing on the loans and those sorts of things.
And do I understand right, are we receiving a presentation as well, or I believe the USDA representative will be here on Tuesday?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So I would suggest then keeping that as a regular agenda item. All right. We'll receive departmental reports. Anything in particular, any direction from the board to help our staff prepare for their departmental reports? Any questions or anything they need to be prepared for on Tuesday?
How are we doing bulk pickup right now?
So that's a question for Tuesday.
Okay.
Great.
So that's a question.
Okay. Very good. Thank you. Anything else for staff to prepare? Okay. We'll receive our town manager report and then request and comments from the mayor and board and executive session if needed. Anything else to be added to next week's agenda?
One item that isn't necessary for the agenda, but something I would like to share with y'all and get some feedback on this evening, if possible, is we are within days of the property that Three Rivers Land Trust has been working to acquire for the expansion of the standback forest. They're in the process of being able to transfer that to the town, or most of that property to the town, within the next few days. And so they've started talking with us about an event to celebrate that. And we've gotten a date suggested that we'd like some feedback from y'all on. which would be Friday, March 24th at 10 a.m. And the division is doing something at the existing parking lot for the forest, and then followed by a hike over to some of the new area. So that's the date, March 24th at 10 a.m. That I was asked to see if we work for y'all, and if not, the backup date that was suggested was March 31st.
We're all gonna check our calendars now.
Both dates are Fridays, I believe.
Right. I am good with both dates. How does that look for everyone else?
I'm okay with it, both dates.
Okay.
I can't do it either day.
Okay.
31st will probably be out. 24th have a night off.
Oh, there's possibly the 24th. Possibly. So it sounds like the 24th of the dates is the better of the two options.
Is there a time? Is the time an issue? Would a different time on the 24th be better? Early is better.
6 a.m.
Let's do it. Yeah, a little too early. You'll see all that run around. Good. And the coyote.
I may or may not be here that day, I'm not sure, but it's okay.
I recognize not everyone's. It's going to be difficult to get everybody together.
Yes.
But if we can get a critical mass of folks.
I was in a meeting earlier today where Victor Wallace was there, and he's asked that if we could consider naming a trail for his father in that new part of the Standback Forest. His father was Leo Wallace, and they have donated the land through the land trust, who is now giving the property back to us.
Mhm.
So I'd like to have that in consideration at some point.
All right. So it's the 24th. We want to go ahead and get feedback that that's the date. Okay. All right. Very good. Okay. Any need to go into executive session this evening? All right. Hearing none. I will now turn it over to Warren Miller from Fountain Works. They will be leading our community engagement session this evening, and we are looking forward to getting everybody together to talk about Spencer's future and maybe reflect a little bit on some of the things done to date over the last several years and take stock of where we've been and where we're going.